There are tons of examples of personal operating systems that you can build with AI, but I'm going to show you mine today that is specifically focused on cutting out the distractions, getting to the marrow of the bone, and making you more productive without distraction. If you tried building an operating system and you find yourself putting in all these different tools and integrations and it becomes this complex, bloated thing that you don't actually use, you just spend more time tweaking, this is for you. If you use Notion or Airtable or Asana or something like that, and it just doesn't feel right, or they're constantly asking you to upgrade your subscription and you want something different, this is for you. And if you're a pen and paper person, I'd still urge you to take a look at this, because as much as I like the simplicity of pen and paper or a Google Doc, there is some benefit to having something just a bit more technical and with a bit more capability, and I want to show you today. Small context here, this next section here is me describing the overall system that contains my personal OS. So like when you sit down at your computer, you open up certain tabs. That's what I'm gonna talk about now. And then I'm gonna spend the rest of the video getting into the specific operating system. But operating system has been so thrown around these days that I wanted to just show you, like, when I sit down at my computer, what do I open up and where am I working from? And then specifically, the management tab that we're about to go through here is gonna be that personal OS that you're probably expecting, like a project manager and so on. So my system breaks down into these three components: music, AI, intelligence of the artificial kind, and management. These are the only three tabs I like to have open as a starting point. Other than that, every other tab should serve the purpose of the specific task that I'm working on at that point in time. Music, very straightforward, is going to be Spotify, playing some Drake right now. Next one is going to be Claude, just having it as an AI assistant so I can do as many chats or projects as I want. And then last is going to be my personal operating system that I created, focused on simplicity, being distraction free, and actually removing a lot of the potential uses. I could put a chatbot in here. I could put a knowledge base in here. I could put like a YouTube transcriber and an image generator and a lot of other components. I could find tweets, I could do Google searches, I can find leads, I could do all these stuff. I could put all that stuff in here, but what I'm looking for is something that is the elevated version of your basic notepad. A lot of times what I've used in the past has just been this simple notepad over here. And it's even simpler than a Google Doc or anything like that. It is literally a markdown file, and it is like the most boring thing you could ever have. There is a little bit of stuff you could do here with titles and bolding and stuff like that at this point. But the reason I like it is because it's just self-contained. There's no other tabs, there's no announcements. I guess there technically is over here, but I've never even noticed that. There's nothing else pulling your attention away. Even something like Notion, as much as I love it, I don't use it for my day-to-day. I use it for like long-term planning and big vision thinking and stuff like that. And Google Docs I use for stuff that I share with clients or contractors or stuff like that I need to have like an ongoing developing basis. But like a basic like to-do list for a day, something that I can refer to in the morning, something that I can set for myself at night, I like to use notes. I like to keep it super simple. And now what I've created here with my own personal OS is a slightly upgraded version of that without getting too fancy, reminding me of the important things and focusing on distilling the basics, the basics. What did I get done and what do I need to do? And that's as simple as it should be, in my opinion. So the main screen is going to be this dashboard here. Up along the top, you can see that I have this little XP function. I've gotten back into gaming a little bit in my life, and I just realized how exciting it can be to level up in that. So I wanted to give myself a little bit of an XP here to show myself progression, right? I do think that the secret unlock to having this momentum of building a business or learning a new skill or starting and completing a project is the kudos that you give yourself, or the appreciation or the encouragement, or just the acknowledgement that something got done. Because if you're in this like never ending pit of I need to do X, Y, and Z, it's really hard, I've noticed, for me as a guy who's like very ambitious, but also I can be a little bit stern with myself, if you will, or almost cruel. I want to make sure that I give myself the kudos of stuff that I've actually gotten done. And that's why I specifically have this thing below here as well, the completed tab. This is different from to-do lists that I've seen because they typically focus on the second one here. At most, I see them kind of have a line strike through these things, but it ends up making the list clunky and cluttered. And I like to have a lot of cleanliness if I can. So I separated the two, and if something does get finished from the to-do list, if I check it off, it goes into the completed and it adds an XP. You can see the specific XP, and then once I'm ready, I can archive it if I want to keep the XP, or I can delete it if I, for some reason, made a mistake and I need to remove the XP and rewrite this task or anything like that. I can also prioritize the things that I need to do here by moving this up and down. And then as you can see, the to-do list is a very simple section of basically simple items that I need to do. And then I can make edits here and then also clear them out. Down below is a logging system, and this is something I specifically picked up off of Rob Deerdeck. He has his own software that is focused on time management, and what he does is he scores his day. And he has different metrics than I use here, but for me, I wanted to focus on these 4 things. Deep work, meaning the hours that felt like I was lost in the work, where I have potentially the music on, or I just have no outside distractions, I have no phone close to me, I have nothing like that, and I am working. I can be working on one thing or multiple things, whatever it may be, but I am working and I am feeling this sense of progression. I am feeling this sense of challenging myself and tackling the biggest problems that I have to do that day, that week, or that month. That is so important to protect, to plan, and to recognize. If you can see yourself doing this, you can make it more likely that you're going to do it again. And you'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy work much more if it's deeper because it's distraction free, it's less brittle, feels like you're actually using your ideas, you're using your skills, you're developing as a person and in your career. There's lots of studies on this stuff. And anecdotally, I can tell you it just makes for a much more enjoyable day, a much more enjoyable week, and you make progress faster. Second one is mood and perspective. This is something that I found, like, as an entrepreneur, you really have to challenge yourself to keep even keel. There's going to be things that throw you off, whether that's client complaints or technological problems or personal life threatening your tranquility, if you will, or focus. So I find it important to track that, even though in my past I didn't, because I thought I could just barrel through my perspective, barrel through all that stuff. And I just realized that even though, like, technically you can kind of barrel through and always wash over like the emotions and that side of things, it's still there. It's not like it's gone. It's just that you're being tougher than these emotions, but that doesn't mean that it's gone. And in reality, it actually takes more energy to get over bigger emotions. And so I think it's important to pay attention to that stuff, because if you can put a note here as well, you can track maybe why that's happening or what led to a good day versus what led to a bad day. Third thing here is going to be health, which is just, did I eat? Did I drink enough water? Did I exercise? Did I get some sun? Very basic stuff, right? Do my eyes hurt because I'm looking at the screen too much? Am I doing, bad things for myself, like drinking during the week or something like that? I just want to be mindful of that. I'm not the most optimized person in the world. Like, I don't mind having a drink or smoke here and there. I'm not trying to live forever. I'm definitely trying to live a long and happy life, but at the same time, like, if I ever find myself getting too deep into the peptide world or, weighing out things a little too much or something like that, I just feel like at that point, I'm causing more stress in my system. You're free to judge your own health measure as you want. But for me, it's the very basics. Did I drink enough water? Did I generally eat good stuff? Did I generally get some exercise and oxygen? And do I feel overall good in my body? And then last one is recovery. It's kind of related to health, but it's much more specific, because health can be seen as like, did I work out? Versus recovery is specifically like, did I give myself enough time to recharge? Did I give myself enough time to lay on the couch with nothing on, or lay on the couch with a movie on, or play a video game or something like that, or talk to some people that I trust and love? Recovery has been something important for the mood and perspective, the long-term health, and also getting back into deep work. If I don't give myself a little bit of recovery, it's harder to get into deep work. And so as you can see, like, the goal here is always focused back into getting myself into more deep work hours. And I specifically mean deep work hours, not just work for work's sake and hours for hours' sake, but deep work hours. Those moments where you're making progress, you're doing the things at the top of your priority list, and you're making changes in your business or your life. So that's the dashboard screen, pretty clean and simple. This is what I refer to and where I keep it on all day long. Now on to the projects tab. So there are plenty of project managers out there, but once again, if we take a look at them, you can see just visually here, and if you look through their websites, that they're really meant for a lot of capabilities and a lot of people and branches and hierarchy and stuff like that. Here's ClickUp, which has chat, task, schedule, Gantt, customers, as well as different color codings, and this whole thing over here. There's a bunch of different things that you can put in, which, again, if you want this, if you use this, then that's great. If you're a big business, then you might make sense to do this. But for a guy like me who likes simplicity, this is overwhelming. Another example is Asana. Again, a lot of big businesses use it. It works well, but as you can see, it's literally saying your team just got bigger by giving you all these AI teammates and things like that. If you look at the screen, you can see kind of similarly a lot of different views, a lot of different toggles, a lot of different columns. And then lastly, we have Airtable, which is once again giving you a bunch of different options and views. You even have this thing which is like a dashboard creator over here. So you can have these like portals, but looking at this, you can see different columns, different tags, different technical details, and so on and so forth. So there's nothing wrong with all those. There's absolutely great teams across the world that use those. And if you're a bigger company, it might make sense to do it. I just wanted something that cut out the clutter. It had all the features that I wanted without asking me to subscribe to this crazy level per month or anything like that. And so what I created here was a very basic thing that helped me manage basically two things. One, it helped me track my time in different permutations of it. So as you can see here, I have the overall revenue and then my time. And then through some calculation, I have my effective rate, which is basically how much I earn per hour. And this has been more and more important to me because as a single person operation, if I'm not effective with my time, then I'm losing money. And yes, it can feel cool at the end of the month when I see the revenue come in and it's like a nice big number. But if I'm working 50, 60 hours a week, then it's not as cool anymore. So I found it really important to do this. As a side note, there's a similar issue with time trackers that I found where I just haven't been able to stick to them because they've been like this whole other app and I didn't want to like open a window or something like that. So having it here makes it nice and simple, makes it easy for me to refer to. I have this open anyway, so I might as well just touch it over here in the top right by starting a session. As you can see, the session timer will start to move and then I can stop it, name it, and then I can log my session as you can see here below. The second thing is a very basic Kanban per project. So I do have a to-do list over here, which is kind of an overall thing. At this point, items in this to-do list do not go over there. I find it actually helpful that I have like the bigger ideas and the bigger phases in here. And then I have like the micro to-do action items in that dashboard. Because if I refer back to the projects for the micro, I'm going to get lost by looking at all these other things and I'm going to get nervous and I'll be like, oh man, I got to go do that thing. I got to go do that thing. And it's going to become this like big anxiety moment. Whereas if I just have like the big phases over here so that I only occasionally have to go back here and move this from one to the other, then I know that it's all taken care of. I want this to be like the general big phases or maybe medium-sized phases. And I want the dashboard to do items to be the small daily action items. If I need to add a new project, I add in these details. If I'm done with the project, I go ahead and delete it, and then we move on. And so for projects, that's basically it. I just want to know where I'm at with the phase, where I'm at with my time and my effective rate, and then which projects I have that I need to do. Last but not least is a stats board. That's where all this information from the log actually sits and lives, so you can look at it retroactively and try to pick up on trends. Right now, it's very basic, just talking about the amounts of tasks, the XP of that day, any notes, and also the specific levels of that log if I filled it in that day. And that's basically it. That's as much as I want on the thing that I look at every day and potentially every hour. And I say that specifically because if I'm looking at this thing every hour, every day, I need to minimize the amount of suggested or related actions that it asks me to take. I need it to be streamlined and narrow and focused because if you're a solo operation, you have sales, you have marketing, you have project fulfillment, you have so many components that you have to keep in your head. And if you don't write them down somewhere, it can feel like you have all these open loops that are just constantly stressing you out. And you may not feel it throughout the day because you're kind of moving and grooving. But then if you try to lay down in bed at night, then your mind goes, hey, did you finish this? Did you finish this? Did you finish that? And I just found it super helpful to create that OS for myself that utilizes the technology without stepping into the place where it is becoming a burden. And again, if you want to add in things like image generation or access to ChatGPT or something like that, you totally can. I've experimented with myself, but again, I just found for myself, it's better that when I want that, I'll just open the tab. If I want to do image generation, I'll open a Hicksville tab. If I want to ask Claude, I'll open a Claude tab. If I want to listen to music, I'll listen to Spotify. I don't want to start adding and adding and adding and adding to the point that this becomes like my entire browser or my entire internet, because that's everything. The whole nature of the internet is that it's everything, and I don't want everything. I just want the things that I need to focus on without distraction, but with enough detail so that I can actually get stuff done. And if you want to build something similar, it's actually not super complicated. Feel free to take screenshots of all the things that I showed you, put it into your coding agent, and then let it build. It'll probably ask you some questions to say, do you want this feature, that feature? And then that's the personal preference process. If you want to grab my starting prompt, I'll put that in the description. Feel free to use that as a starting point and build to where you want it to go. Change the style, change anything you like. For me, it's very important to keep things simple and streamlined, specifically in a time where we can build anything we want. It's important to build the right thing. If you have any personal OS systems, I'd love to see it and check it out. Let me know why you built it the way you built it. Your thoughts on my own would be cool too. Any other things related to this, comment, send me a message, join the school community in the link if you like, and I'll talk to you later.